What's up, you guys? It's James from James Reptiles, and today we're going to talk about corn snakes and how to brumate them. Now, of course, this is my first year brumating corn snakes, and this is my first year owning corn snakes. I've owned them just over a year. I think September of last year is when I first got my first pair of corn snakes. So when you're watching this, don't take any of this as fact. As always, whether you're watching any experienced person or some random person like myself, make sure you get multiple sources. Whether you're reading something on the internet, make sure you get multiple sources. Never go with just one source. That being said, I have a bunch of people who breed corn snakes, and that's my only qualification. Let's get into it. So, corn snakes are found in the United States, and they are awesome, and they're easy to keep. And here in the state of California, I keep them without heat, and I know a lot of people do keep them without heat. So it makes it real simple. We can throw them in tubs. Now, brumating, you want to get them down into like 60, low 60s, maybe not exactly 60, maybe like 64 up to about 70. And that just allows them to cool them down. And you want to make sure they're definitely empty and out of food before that. So I would say at least 2 weeks before they're about to be cooled, at least 2 weeks. I did a month. I've actually done over a month because they're still here. I've been meaning to take my buddy Mondo's. Here, I don't have a garage or an outside patio cupboard to put them in. All I have is my apartment, and it doesn't get quite as low as I want it to. So I'm going to be bringing him to Armando's, and he's going to put them in his garage for me, just like with his that he has. And hopefully, not this year because I don't plan on breeding them. I mean, they're tiny. These are tiny corn snakes. But in a year or so, maybe they'll be big enough, maybe they'll be breeding. Who knows? This guy is just about to shed. This guy right here is just about to shed. He's going in that where they kind of fade out of the blue and then all of a sudden they shed. But corn snakes tend to need to brumate for about 2.5 to 3 months. We're doing midway through November to the end of January. And that just gives them a long enough time to really get into a slumber, really kick into that brumation period, so that when it's time for them to come out of brumation, they can really feel like they brumated and that they're ready to get out of it. If they don't feel like they brumated, they're not going to have that snap out of it that they need, and they need that snap out of it to get them into the breeding mode, and they kind of go into like a breeding frenzy. They really want to do it. It's definitely on their list of things to do right in front of spring cleaning. But corn snakes are awesome, and a lot of people don't know, but in the world of reptiles, one male can breed to multiple females. So if you have one male corn snake, you can breed it to a bunch of females. Most people keep a limit of like 4 or 5, but potentially you can breed it up to an exponential number. You'll start having issues where the male doesn't have enough energy or time for all those females, and you might think they locked up, but they might not produce viable eggs. And a lot of times what happens is if you don't brumate them properly, the males won't produce viable sperm, and the eggs won't be fertile nonetheless. For a lot of snakes, there's usually a rule of thumb of 3 years before you breed. Corn snakes are no different, except the corn snake rule of thumb is a little bit different. So it's usually 3 years, 3 foot, or 300 grams. And the reason people do that is because corn snakes, you are able to breed them at 2 years if you really push them. I know mine eat a lot, and I kind of have been pushing them. And it's just kind of me getting excited to breed my first pair of snakes. One pair I got, I was told, were 2 years old, and they were just as big as my yearling pair. So it kind of just shows you, if you feed them big enough, you can, or more often, or as much as you can, they can really put on a lot of weight. And you don't really want to breed them at 2 years. If mine end up being ready, I'll probably end up doing it. I doubt I will double clutch them. It all just depends on how I feel. They are my animals, and I'll do what I want with them. But nonetheless, you really want to make sure your snakes are mature and ready, especially females. If your female's not ready and she's not big enough, you can get problems passing eggs, and you might have small clutches, and especially the first year, you'll probably have the most infertiles, because if both your male and your female don't know what they're doing, there's more likely to be an issue. Whereas if you have a male that's done it before or a female that's done it before, you're more likely to have success because they know what they're doing, their body's used to this, and at that point, they're good to go. Now, males are easier to breed at 2 years because they don't have the load-bearing responsibility of carrying, folliculating, or whatever you want to call it, bearing, carrying the eggs, pushing the eggs out, and in nature, a lot of times, sitting on the eggs. Corn snakes not really, but in general, some female snakes, especially pythons, will watch over the eggs. But males, you can usually breed at 2 years just because they do their deed and they're gone. It's more likely to be infertile, like I said before, because they're immature and they don't know what they're doing. But it is possible, and you bet your darn butt people are out there doing it, and they're gonna make money off of it. So if it's something you're against, you're just gonna have to accept the fact that other people are doing it. Some people love corn snakes just as pets, and that's fine. And to those people, I say you do not have to brumate your corn snakes. What I would recommend is come wintertime, when you think it's about time they're going to start cooling down, or your researchers told you it's just about that time, don't slow down feeding. Don't slow down feeding. Make sure your room or wherever you're keeping your snakes stays warm, the enclosure, whatever it may be. Snakes and reptiles in general are really good at determining pressure changes in the air outside, ever slight temperature drops, even by a degree. And if you slow down feeding and they feel the pressure change in the air, there's a chance they could kick off and start refusing food. I know hognose do it on their own a lot. Even if you keep them warm, they will just refuse food because they know their body's telling them, hey, it's that time. But with corn snakes, you're more, it's easier to keep them going just because corn snakes love eating. But it's just something to be aware of when you're having your first pet, or you have a couple and you don't want to breed. That's fine. It's a lot safer to just keep them up because complications happen when you change things, and brumation is a change for them. Females can build follicles and start producing eggs, and if they're not fertile, a lot of times they can have problems passing them, and if you don't know what you're doing, you won't know how to help them pass those eggs, and that can just be bad for the snake in general. But nevertheless, that's going to be it for today's video. Just a bunch of knowledge on corn snakes. My buddy Brian asked me to do a video on corn snakes. I said, what should I do? He said, corn snakes. I go, okay, what on corn snakes? He said, just do corn snakes. I said, they're all brumating, so I'll just talk about them brumating and all about that. But nevertheless, this is my first year brumating snakes, and I won't be breeding this year. I'll be breeding next year after brumation, so I'm just trying to get them in that cycle, like, hey, we brumate, and then we come up, and then maybe we do something. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. I'm James and James' Reptiles. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to see more. I post daily videos about reptiles. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see pictures of all my animals. Of course, a lot of the geckos and snakes are brumating, but I do have other geckos and some other snakes and scorpions and other stuff that is out and about. Facebook as well. Twitter is kind of weird. They don't post a picture. If you go to Instagram and you post on multiple social media, it just posts a link on Twitter to your Instagram, which is the stupidest thing. So when I'm on Twitter, I don't ever click those links. I hate it. It's stupid. Facebook and Instagram work well. If you have any questions, you can message me. You can email me at jamesreptiles@gmail.com. But nonetheless, I hope you guys had a enjoyable and knowledgeable time, and enjoy the rest of your day.